What's up, guys? It's your boy Ticker Taper Tyler back here again. And today, man, I have a special guest. Who am I here with?
You're with Coach Johnny Jones, Texas Southern University men's basketball coach.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, coach, man. Start off, how's the summer been, man?
It's been great. It's great having our kids around, having individual skill workouts with the young men here in summer school, watching the guys get in the weight room and improving and getting better. Have several new guys that's in the program, so it's great having hands-on, watching them participate every day and giving us a chance to get better and finishing up with their scheduling, which is always a task for us and always challenging. But we've been able to put together a great schedule, great group of guys that I think is going to be able to play a very challenging schedule this year. And so no 2 days are the same around here because something's always going on and a lot of work to be done, but excited about the opportunities to do it.
Absolutely, man. I love to hear that. And, you mentioned, a couple of new guys in the program, whether that be, maybe an incoming freshman or in a portal. But I want to tap into, with the portal and stuff. And what comes with that is, the NIL, well, in today's era of college sports. Just talk to me, like, what's the next step for HBCUs in terms of getting the NIL revenue up?
Well, I think you got to be proactive and certainly creative would be two words I think that would like to use because I think you have to be creative in terms of how you want to be able to generate the funds that you're going to have a chance to use. The good thing is the NCAA's opened it up, so it's not just strictly what they call NIL. It's more of a collective now because the universities or schools are able to participate and put things together to make sure that the kids are having an opportunity to share in the revenue and the resources that are being brought in through for the university or athletic department. So being creative, I think what people have gone to is utilizing some of the guarantees.
Hmm.
Some people have put together packages with maybe season ticket packages, you name it. But I think there are various ways to do it. It's unlike, say, for instance, if you look at the major conferences, Power Fours or Autonomy Fours or Power Five conferences, it's a little bit different because the money that's generated from each conference and the revenue that they get from each conference that they're able to. I think the Power Fives or Autonomy Fours, they're getting 20 million. They have to spend up to $20 million, $20 million a year.
Absolutely.
Right now, obviously, at schools of our size, the magnitude of our schools, we've got to be a little bit different. Obviously, the number is not going to be there, but we've got to figure out a way to make sure that we have an opportunity to help our kids in some sense. It won't be the number, obviously, from the Power Fives, but I think our kids having an opportunity to participate in, if you can share some type of the revenue whatever with them. I think it'd give them a chance to feel good about themselves. But it makes it tough because regardless of what's going on, if the kids play extremely well, have a great season, those other opportunities are going to be out there for them.
Yeah.
And when people have the resources to come after them like that, it makes it tough. But as a basketball coach, you're not going to bring the kid along any slower. You want your program to be the best that they can be and be as creative and try to win as many games as you possibly can, and hopeful that will create an opportunity for you to get the next great player that's out there that you have an opportunity for. But and we're right in the middle of it. We're in the same, I guess, boat with everybody else in trying to put ourselves in position to get as much as we possibly can to make it attractive for the young men that we have here. We're trying to bring in to our program.
Absolutely, man. You've been at Texas Southern since 2018. You've had some notable wins against, big time teams, such as Baylor and Texas A&M. In terms of those games, what do you instill in your kids, in your program in order to, to compete with, the best of the best in order to, come out on top and get the win?
In basketball, it's a little bit different than football. We start the season off. We won 350, it's 350, I guess, or around there Division I basketball or Division I programs, right?
Mhm.
In football, you have whatever divisions that you play in,
Yeah.
and some teams have zero of having a chance, especially in football, of winning the national championship because they're not a Power Five or autonomy fours.
Mhm.
In college basketball, every team at the beginning of the season have a chance to win a national championship.
That's right.
And so if you get hot and you play extremely well and things are happening for you, they can't cancel you out. You get in that tournament, if you can win 6 games, if it's just you're in the regular bracket, or if it's 7 games you have to win because you have to play the play in, you can be a part of a national championship. That's always our approach, to be the best that we can be. So we do play a challenging schedule outside of our conference. But when I'm prepping and getting ready for our guys in October, and we're getting ready to for play November, and we've been fortunate to go into Florida when they were in the top 20 to win. We've been able to go into Oregon when they're a top 20 team to win. We beat Baylor the year before, so that we won the national championship. So our guys' approach is always on edge, to be
Mhm.
the best they can be, to compete at a high level. And it's not always the talent. We've got to make sure we do a great job of trying to be the best team when we're out there on the floor, putting our scheme together and making sure that we can execute at a high level, be it on the offensive end of the floor, defensive end of the floor. How well are we going to compete? And we got to take pride in every possession. And when you do that, some good things happen for you. We don't go into the game in terms of worrying about the score, watching the clock after each possession or every time out. Our deal is let's prepare, let's get ready. And at the end of the day, we initially want to make sure that we put together some goals that we want to reach during the game. Do we want to win? Can we win the rebound war? Can we
Mhm.
have less than 10 turnovers? Can we get to the free throw line X amount of times? Can we shoot a certain percentage? And when you meet those goals, some good things have a tendency of happening for you. And in those type games, we've been able to meet our goals in terms of getting stops, winning the rebound war, holding team to a certain field goal percentage. And when those things happen, some good things happen for you. And it certainly bring excitement to our young men in the program. And we certainly share those things with doing our recruiting, because we want guys to understand you can come here. We're going to play a demanding schedule, but we don't go into any games giving up or thinking that we're just going to receive a guaranteed check. We're going to play, be at our best, be the best that we can possibly be, and see if we can improve in that game. Because at the end of the day, you play those guarantees, but it still always carry over to a very grueling and tough conference schedule that we play each year. But those preseason games certainly prep us for that.
Yeah, and I think that's the right approach, the right mentality. And I mean, honestly, I think it's paid off, if I'm not mistaken, 3 consecutive, SWAC titles in a row. That's one of the things you've been able to accomplish, during your time there at Texas Southern. Just like throughout your coaching career, what are some things that you've been able to learn from other, other coaches in a consecutive and previous jobs, and that allowed you to, to have this success at Texas Southern?
Well, the good thing is I played for a Hall of Fame coach in Dale Brown at LSU. He
Yeah.
was the head coach there for 25 years and done a tremendous job. I was blessed to have a chance to play for him. Uh,
Final four appearance, right?
yeah, two of
Yeah.
them. Yeah, and and then we lost, I think, on the last second shot or something, Indiana, because it could have gone back again. But tremendous guy, tremendous person, but learned a lot from him. Not only as just a basketball player, but as a person as well. And he certainly have impacted my life, and owe him a great deal of gratitude because of that. But it stems back, even from my high school coach, who is still, well, doesn't still have, he passed away earlier this year, and just getting into the coaching profession. But learned a lot from Coach Brown. One, uh, keeping it simple in terms of things that you do, implement in your system, making
Mhm.
sure you don't do a whole lot of changing throughout the year, making sure that you're utilizing the guys that you have in your program and fitting your offense and defense toward geared toward the talent that you may have. He wasn't one of those guys about changing everybody. And one of the great things about Coach Brown, he didn't just teach guys plays, he tried to teach them how to play. And that those things go a long way with me now. And it's the same thing that we do. Obviously, have a different system, run different offense and stuff that I ran back then. But my philosophy is his is still about the same because it's always a family atmosphere, family environment that we want to make sure that we bring our kids into. We always try to make sure during the recruiting process allowing parents and coaches and whoever else is involved to understand that if they entrust us with their one of the most prized possessions as their child, and they come here, our job is to make sure that we send them back better and doing a tremendous job that they're going to grow in our program as young men. And we've been very fortunate to be able to do that. And our program sells itself because the kids are able to our players on our team do a tremendous job once we bring kids on campus. But I've had a chance to work for another guy, Tick Price, for a couple of years at University of Memphis. Worked with
Okay.
Mark Godfrey at University of Alabama for a year, and then I was out in Nevada with Eric Musselman, who had
Coach
worked
Musselman, yeah.
with me. He had worked with me at LSU for a year, and then got the job there at Nevada. But coaching is just like anything else, and I'd really like to kind of sum it up. And like if you're cooking, and you say, for instance, you're in the kitchen and you have a gumbo that you're trying to put together, the ingredients that you have to put in. There are a lot of things that you can do, and it's how much you want to put in or whatever to your liking or to your taste. And that's what I've taken from each one of those coaches. I've taken certain ingredients and implemented
Mm.
into my program. So when we put those things together, at the end of the day, to my liking, and how much I wanted to take from those guys, all the positives or whatever, and then mixing that up, and we've been able to come up with a pretty good deal here over the years in the program and been able to survive. So I've worked for with some good guys and had some good guys on my bench. I had a guy by the name of Brendan Surr who was on the bench with the Detroit Pistons when they were winning championships. He was assistant coach. He was the scout for the team when they had the was it the Dream Team in the Olympics. He was the lead scout for those games. So he's worked with me as well. So even assistants, not just head coaches, but other people that I've been able to bring in to my program and to be around have really helped, in a way in terms of shaping what we do as a program. But we've been able to change as well. And I have a staff that's around me now. Last year, every guy that was on my staff in terms of assistant coaches had played for me. Say they knew our system, they knew how I moved, they knew how I worked, they knew how hard we were going to go, they knew our system, and it really helped our players, especially the guys that were returning on our team, because they could pour into those guys exactly what was needed and developed a great relationship. And again, it always starts with the family environment, the family atmosphere. And one of the things we harp on, and I tell our guys all the time, our mission's got to be that we've got to be want to make sure that our kids are going to come in here. They're going to grow spiritually. They're going to
Mhm.
grow socially, athletically, and academically. And if we can do those four things in a powerful way and make sure that we're successful and the kids will buy into it, our program will be successful. And the young men are going to be successful, and they're going to come around and come out and be extremely do great things in the community in which they will live and with their families, because we want to make sure that we mold these young guys when they have a family, what it's all about. And the basketball teaches, I think, a lot of those things that lend to us an opportunity to impact those young men that way.
Yeah, I mean those are amazing core values, to keep, whether it's a basketball team or just in life, and honestly, and just talk a little bit more, about Coach Musselman, who's now at USC and Southern California. With your time with him in Nevada, two of the players on that team, I'm a fan of basketball, the Martin twins. Just what were those guys like, man?
Tremendous. I mean, they were tremendous guys. I absolutely loved them. My son actually was on that team. He was a
Yeah.
freshman that year, and the Morton twins kind of took him in and embraced him and kind of took him under their arms or under their wings and took a liking to him. And they still kind of stay in touch. But those young guys, man, when I got there, they had redshirted the year before. I'd played against them before because one of them, they were at North Carolina State, and we'd made the NCAA tournament, and we had an opportunity to play against them.
Mhm.
And guys that did a tremendous job, were tough, hard-nosed, young men, come from good family. Mom had done a tremendous job raising them. They had an edge about themselves. And I loved watching those guys. They were going to get to the gym early, get shots up. After practice, they were going to be in the gym working, continuing to work on their shot. And they weren't guys that just went through drills. I mean, they worked extremely hard. Their practices was extremely competitive, day in and day out. And then at night, they would possibly get one of the managers, somebody, and try to get back over there to shoot, get some more shots up in the gym. So you knew those guys were going to be successful.
Yeah.
I talk about them shooting in getting shots up, but they were so competitive that both of them were wired to try to be the best defenders that they could possibly be on the floor to stop the opponent. Winning was so important to those guys. When I first got out there, I thought took it on myself to really challenge them every day in practice with little things because they had sit out the first year, and that year they transferred. So the year was coming up, I was used to give them a little bit of a hard time in practice and saying certain things to them and pushing them a certain way
Yeah.
to see how they were going to react because this was going to be new to them. And I knew they were going to be challenged on the road. People were going to say stuff to them. How are you guys going to react? Are you going to be prepared and you're going to be ready? And those guys, after a while, they started passing with flying colors because I told them what I was doing to them and why I was doing it, and then they understood, and so the expectation and stuff was there. So when the season started and people were trying to go after them, they responded the right way and in kind, and made sure they let their talking be done on the floor because of their talent level. But I absolutely love both of those guys.
Yeah, and the effort you can see it, in the way they play, and that's why they've been able to be successful in the NBA on the teams that they played for. Two other notable guys that you've had, the chance to coach. You also, or recruited them. Ben Simmons and Shaquille O'Neal. What was that, recruiting process like? And what are both of those guys like?
Well, I tell you, Shaquille O'Neal is probably what you see is what you get. And a lot of times when people become superstars, they put themselves in a position, they try to distance themselves, they won't be around. Shaquille is one of the most outgoing people that have ever been around, and that didn't just start; it actually started in college. I mean, this guy was walking around campus like a gentle giant, and students loved him. He didn't mind taking the pictures and going to the movies and doing whatever charity events that he had an opportunity to be a part of and take part in. And that stuff carried over into his NBA career.
Yeah,
And you can just look at the way that Shaquille has carried himself. He worked extremely hard. I can tell you this when he came to LSU, a lot of times we break down our drills or workouts and we'll tell our guards, you're in one line, we're about to do sprints or we're about to do distance running. And so you take the guards and you give them one time that they've got to make. You take the post guys and there's a certain time that they have to make. And Shaquille never would run with the posts. He ran with the guards because he wanted to make guard times. And he didn't only run with them, he was extremely competitive with his time in getting there. And when you look at a guy as big as he is and as competitive, that's why he was such a dominant player. But
yeah,
I love the way how Shaq conducted himself and the things that he's done because nowhere, and you can look back, they've ever had a center or a big man that was as marketable as he is. And like when you go back and you can think of the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's, you can think of the Bill Waltons, you can, even Akeem, or you can talk about those guys. None
yeah,
of them deals have lasted. None of them have been able to sell the shoes or the products or whatever like Shaquille has. And it's amazing how he's continued to be that guy. And I think he's told me that he makes more money now than when he played. Uh,
Yeah, he's
and,
killing it
and
with Reebok right now too.
Oh, it's unbelievable. So, and that's him, and that's who he is, and because of his hard work, and he still works extremely hard. He has his hand in a lot of things, and he's special. And work. He's never ever ran from work. He's always run to it. So he's a very active guy. Ben Simmons' deal was a little bit different, I guess, having his godfather on my staff helped in terms of the recruitment. He was being
Okay.
recruited by Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, all the top brands out there, top schools
Yeah.
that are out there. And for us to be able to land him, me to be able to be the head coach there at LSU was special. And Shaquille, obviously, seeing him being the number one player taken in the draft was huge. I was an assistant coach and I didn't think, it was, man, I don't know if this will ever happen again in our lifetime. And then becoming the head basketball coach there at LSU and having a player that's preseason that maybe in the top three or four guys that have an opportunity to possibly be the number one player taken in the draft because Kentucky had a player, forget his name, but he was maybe a year ahead of Ben. I think Ingram was kid at Duke.
Yeah,
Uh,
Brandon Ingram. Yeah, with
yeah,
Duke.
yeah, yeah, all those guys. So they had been in the top three or four, and I tried to do everything that we possibly could to make sure that he was put in that position that he could become the number one player taken in the draft. And he did everything that he possibly could for us. He scored. He averaged over 20 points a game.
Yeah.
Rebound, I think, averaged 12. Shot about 60% from the field competed, defended, played all five spots on our team from the point guard to the center. So showing his flexibility and all those things, and it granted and warranted him being the number one player taken in the draft. It hurts me kind of as a coach now to be able to look and see all the stuff that he's had to possibly go through since then,
Yeah.
from his injuries in being traded and leaving after being the top pick there at Philly and then going over to Brooklyn and just one thing after another because I truly believe and I truly think he's when he left LSU, he's one of those guys that was not only going to be an all-star, but was going to be a Hall of Famer because I did, in my heart of hearts, thought he'd be the next LeBron James at his size and
Yeah.
the tools that he had as a player. And unfortunately, it hadn't unfolded that way. But I thought he did a tremendous job of being a great team player the year that we had him in an LSU uniform. He was about LSU that year, and I'm grateful to have had an opportunity to see that and then stand in that green room when they called his name as the number one player taken in the NBA draft as a head coach. Doesn't happen to many folks. A
Yeah.
lot of
You're
people
right.
that it's a small fraternity, and I'm very blessed and fortunate to have been a part of that.
Yeah, like you said, Ben, at LSU, 6'10", just two-way player, he can do it all. And then, his potential, even though he didn't necessarily pan out, in the league, even right now, there's some teams, especially contending teams that would want a player because of his, his defensive skills and, his height and him being able to, control the handle the ball. I mean, trust me, I still think that, he's very, very valuable, to a lot of contending teams. So hopefully, with this next team that he's a part of, he's able to contribute in a good way. And we've been talking about your coaching career, but you used to hoop back in the day, and nicknamed the Bullet Man. Tell me about yourself as a player, man. What type of guy were you?
I was I'd have to say, I guess, if I go by recruiting and the way that I was recruited out of high school, I have to believe that obviously was had a certain talent level. I had a lot of schools visited, recruited me out of high school from the UCLA to University of Maryland. I visited there, Georgia, Oklahoma, LSU, you name it. So I had all the offers out there, had all took visits to a lot of those schools,
Yeah,
official visits, and wind up going to LSU and having a chance to play in the Final Four. But it all stemmed starting in high school. Had a really good high school career. Played with some really, really good high school players. Come from a little small town, one high school there, but I used to be up, wee hours in the morning shooting baskets outside, and had older brothers that played. Then I had teammates who were older. Like my freshman year, I was able to play on the varsity, but that varsity group, they kind of took me in under their wing and would go play on an army base with those guys and get challenged. So getting to college, I was very fortunate to play in the Final Four against Isaiah Thomas and those guys as a freshman. Got Michael Jordan, and I had an opportunity to play on the same team in the National Sports Festival in '81. He was going to be a freshman at North Carolina. I was
Yeah,
going to
Chapel
be
Hill.
a
Yeah.
sophomore, and we were teammates in National Sports Festival. And I was representing the South team, and I was very fortunate to play with some tremendous guys and basketball obviously has been my life. This is my about to start my 40th year on the sideline and coaching in Division One, and it couldn't have been uh, a better deal for me. And as I told you before, my high school coach really helped me because of developing me not only as a basketball player but taking responsibility, assuming responsibility, and taking ownership and understanding how important it was as a point guard to be a leader and he taught me that at a very early age, and then I was able to carry that over with me to LSU as a player, and those things hold true as a coach. I'm still the point guard,
Yeah.
and hopeful my discipline and the things that I do and the way that I live my life that our guys can follow us, and at the end of the day, it points to success for them because I treat all our guys, for me what helped me as a player to continue to develop the two coaches that I played for from high school to college. They were family oriented, and it meant something really to me that they cared about me as a person. In each one of my players, I try to make sure that they understand I want to be a father figure for them. I want to be an extension of their home, away from their home when they
That's
come here
good.
to
Yeah.
school. So all these guys are my sons, so to speak. And some days things don't go well with my sons and they got to get punished. But
Yeah.
I've been fortunate that sometimes you have to give up on the player, but I've never given up on the person. And we've always tried to continue to push those guys and those things that I learned at a very early age from my playing days that I still carry over till to today. But those ones, some of the reasons I feel as though that I was successful because I played in an environment where there was a lot of love.
Yeah, that's amazing. And like you said, from going to, player to a coach, I think those skills are easily transferable, man. And now we're gonna switch it over a little bit, get into, I call them ticker tape questions, get to know you a little bit off the court. We're gonna start off with what's bucket list vacation spot?
Whew, I've loved like Hawaii, getting away, doing some things, and just with family. We've done the Jamaicas and all those things, and I was fortunate this summer to go down to Costa Rica, where I had an opportunity to meet you,
Yeah.
which was a joy, and really enjoyed our time. A little bit of a getaway there, but I'm pretty easy. You give me a little water, find me a golf course, and
Yeah.
the rest of things have a tendency of taking care of themselves. But it's an opportunity to relax. It's something that is extremely hard for me to do. Don't like to get away a lot because I don't like being away from my team. I don't like being away from the office too long because I always feel as though that I'm missing out on something. But when those things do happen, I have an opportunity to be with my family. It's one of the most cherished things that I have a chance to do because I have a son and a daughter. Both of them are in the mid 20s now. And my wife, we always have an opportunity to get away. And when we have an opportunity to do that with family, at the end of the day, it's always a special time because their kids are getting older, they're out of the house. Those things happen. And then, so it doesn't really matter where I go. But I do like being around the water in golf courses when I have those small breaks like that.
How's your golf game, man?
I'm not bad. I can get around there and spread around. I usually put my clubs up in October, right before the season start, and I don't pull them out again until April. So there's a small window where I have an opportunity to play, and I try to get those times in, outside of recruiting, and it makes it tough. But I absolutely love to play golf. That's I was my sport since I can't play basketball, running up and down the floor and taking a
Yeah,
chance of popping a Achilles or tearing a knee up. It's all been about that golf course now, and it's a great challenge, and it's still competitive. Something that you really can't master, but you can get out there in the morning and get it in, and still develop relationships and being around people. But and a lot of people play now, and so I
sure.
certainly love getting out there and competing and playing.
Absolutely. I gotta ask anybody that's involved with the game of basketball, man, the debate of all debates, Jordan or LeBron.
Well, I had an opportunity to play with Michael Jordan and really
Yeah.
watched him, played against him when he was there at North Carolina as well when I was at LSU. Watched him closely there with the Chicago Bulls in the way that they played and competed. Tremendous player. And I've had a chance to watch LeBron coming up through high school and just how dominant he's been in the professional game for the number of years that he's played, being there at Cleveland, what he was able to accomplish there, and they wind up winning the championship and going over to Miami, and now out there with the Lakers. But I have such a great deal of respect for how his game has continued to evolve, how he's taken care of his body, the number of years that he's played, the impact that he still has on the game at his age. It's not like he's one of those guys that you don't have to account for, or you can put your worst defender on. He's still
Yeah, for sure.
extremely impactful. He's still killing it. So both of those guys are tremendous players. I love the size, the strength of LeBron. You're just talking about 6'9", 6'10", probably 265, 270. Michael Jordan was 6'6", 185, 190, or whatever, maybe when he got into the league, and probably 6'6" or whatever, and maybe got to 200 or whatever it was with his size. But the power that LeBron possessed in terms of being able to do the things from the 1 to the 5 spot,
Yeah.
which he can play all those spots on the floor. So it's difficult for me to say who, obviously the best. I know who the guy who's had the longest, obviously, career because of how he's had an opportunity to take care of himself and over the years and the passion and love that he's got for the game, and he's still going. But I'll tell you this: if I was out fishing and I caught either one of those guys, I wouldn't throw either back. Yeah, I'll keep both of
Okay.
them. So both of them are great players, and I just have to give them their due. But I'm not the one to be able to say one's better than the other. I think both are great players and have really impacted our game.
Okay. And and lastly, if Coach Jones wasn't coaching, man, what would he be doing? What would his profession be?
That's a great question. I'm not sure. I had one of my brother next to me went to the military. My
Okay.
mom used to clean up rooms on the army base when I was small. She used to take me to work. I would sit outside on the steps and I would watch the soldiers coming down the street doing their cadence. And I thought it was so neat and watching those guys be able to do that. And I think that's what grabbed my brother, and he wind up enlisting and going into the service. My oldest brother played basketball, and that's what I was more drawn to in playing. And I knew at an early age, probably about ninth grade, I was going to possibly get a scholarship
Yeah.
because schools had started showing interest in me. So my mind and focus has always kind of been the basketball part. Now, coming out of college or going to college, I thought I was going to be a professional, obviously basketball player, not coach, and that I would go off and play, and that would be my job at the end
Yeah.
of the day. But sometime I think, if I just had to pick something else, I worked for an oil firm when I was in school during the summers, and I thought that I could possibly get into oil and gas business at the time. But I'll tell you what, something that I always was inquisitive about was watching the Secret Service in those guys and the way that they operate, the way that they move around, Yeah, and I always kind of in the back of my mind thought that that would be something that was pretty cool.
Okay,
So
that's
I can
interesting,
see
man.
myself.
So once again, I appreciate you know taking time, you know, out your day, man, you know, to do this interview, man. Good luck on the upcoming season, man.
Well, I certainly appreciate it, and thanks so much, and wishing you all the best, man. You're a tremendous young man. You got a lot going on, and I think there's some great things in store for you. So you keep plugging along, and thanks so much for having me on. And
I
go
appreciate that,
Tigers!
coach. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Yeah.